Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Built by Ollie, and this week I'm going to be doing the infamous Sigelei Moonshot, the infamous 200 watt tank. Yeah, look, the flavour is very good on it, but honestly I think the restriction, the airflow is a little bit restricted for 200 watts. It also gets bloody hot at that with that amount of power, so it's not a comfortable 200 watt vape, but it is possible. So that's not my goal today. My goal today is to do a flavour tank because of the size of it, it is actually pretty good. So yeah, let's go down and take a look and see how to build this thing. Alright guys, for today's build, 521 tab, just because these things are awesome. If you don't have one and you're getting more and more serious into building, I strongly suggest you go for one of these, or like the Geek Vape one. I just don't like the Geek Vape one for my videos because it's so reflective and you can see my lights and you can see my face and stuff like that. So that's why I don't use this guy anymore. I use this one for the videos. Cotton bacon version 2. A 3mm screwdriver just to wrap my 22 gauge nichrome around. Okay, I'm going to be using a pair of ceramic tweezers, one of these little Allen key tools from Witofo. Look, you don't have to have one of these, you can just have a regular old Allen key. It's still going to work the same, as long as it's the same size at the end, it's fine. A pair of side cutters for the wire, quite obviously, and a pair of scissors so I can snip my cotton when I'm in, and then obviously we're going to be using the pick. So yeah, let's get to the build. So here we are with the deck, and the reason I've started with it not on here is because, you know, a traditional build deck, you just screw on and you're ready to rock and roll. This thing, however, is not very traditional. In the base over here, see, in that pin we've got a little hole. Okay, now that hole basically lines up with your airflow inside over here. So when you pop it in, okay, because this obviously doesn't screw into here, it floats, so it just sits there, and you actually have to use the actual, or the bell or whatever from the chimney to, you line this up like such, okay, and then you screw it down. Okay, once you screw it down, you'll see that 510 pin on the bottom there actually protrudes and it'll make a connection. But without this shroud on, okay, or this bell, or this, whatever you want to call it, without this thing on, this thing just sits and floats around. So the easiest way for you to build it is to take an Allen key. They provide you in the box, they give you 2 Allen keys. So one is obviously to push through here, and then one is for your post screws. Okay, now what you're going to do is like basically line it up, alright, like so, and then I'm going to do this just like this quickly. Then you have to push this through the base. Okay, obviously that will stop it from spinning as hardcore. Okay, it's still going to spin, but then you have to close the airflow. Okay, so let's do that quickly if I can manage. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. So okay, there we go. So now I've closed the airflow on both sides, and it's still a little bit loose, like you can see there, but it's going to help for now. I'll be able to at least put some coils in there. So let's just screw this down. Alright, use the Allen key as leverage. Oh, and then I've got to open the airflow again. Okay, well that's kind of closed. Okay, so 3mm screwdriver, piece of wire, Coil Master jig, or the UD jig. It's a 3mm. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do 7 wraps on this over here quickly, and then we can insert that. It's just It's actually a pretty hot day. If you can hear my dog panting, he's going wild. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wraps, just like that. Pop her around. Oop. Pop her around. Slap it on there. I'll grip my pliers and then pull that first one out. Keep my thumb over here and grab that wire, give it a pull, turn it around, and there we are, another coil. So let's clip these leads. Okay, I'll grab my 3mm screwdriver and I'm going to insert my first coil. Okay, now how I insert it, let's zoom in here. Okay, so how I insert it is I'll insert it and I'll bring it up, well, obviously through the 2 posts, and I'll bring it up all the way to the edge of the airflow, if you can see that. And then I'll start bending it up, but when I'm bending it up, I'm also pushing it. Pushing it. So it kind of comes up and it goes, you know, it pushes these leads a bit further. I'll just move these guys out of the way, and that's kind of where I'm going to leave that one. Then, next lady for a shave, pop my second coil in. Okay, there we go, they're in. Bring it all the way to the edge. Okay. Oh, this thing, do you see how it moves like this? Eesh. Okay, bring it up. And pull it over, and that's basically it. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hold these in place, because I'm going to have to fiddle with them now, just to get them all nice and straight and whatever. But for now, I'm going to tighten these leads down. Alright, let's pull this thing off the deck. Okay, well, let's just do that actually. This can just stay in here. Now I'm left with this like mess. Okay, now you can't really push it or pull it or tug it or whatever while it's sitting inside the base there, because it's just like like you saw now, it just spins around. So what I'm going to do is I'll move these down, okay, because I might need to adjust this in a bit. Okay, I might just need to adjust it, so I'll just move these out of the way, and then I'm going to start just pushing, pulling, tugging, moving on these coils over here. Okay, make sure they're nice and close to the center and over the airflow. Obviously you don't want it to touch the base. Oh, let me just turn it around. You don't want it to touch that base. Okay, over here it needs to clear there, otherwise it's just going to short. And then how I've centered it there, you'll see how nice and close it is to the center. I'm going to do the other one. Looks like I might not have to move these around too much, so I could actually just clip those leads, but let's just make doubly sure. So just grip it, pull it, push it around a bit, make sure it's nice and centered. So on this side here, actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually just going to clip these leads, because they are now getting in my way. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let's just get this one going. This one still looks a bit untidy. Okay, bring it up close to the center. So give it a twist, and that looks alright. Actually, it looks pretty golden. Let's just make sure this is nice and tight. This one here, oh, this one's a bit loose. Oh, this one's actually very loose. But there we go. we go. Okay, so we got two kind of decent looking coils over there. Alright, they're clearing nicely over there, and they're kind of close to the center, so looking good. Now you have to pop this back on. On the inside over here in the center, you'll see there's those little sections there. There's one on that side and there's one on that side. Now that lines up with the outside of your airflows. Okay, so obviously threading needs to face down so that your baseball bats are, you know, looking correct. And we just go just like that. Okay, pop that on, screw it down. Okay, let's screw it down. Now what I want to do, just before I fire it, because this is you know, where it can get a bit dodgy, is I just want to make sure that these things are not touching. Now I can see this coil here is fine. This coil here is absolutely hundreds, but this one on this side here, it's looking a bit, it's a bit close to that edge, eh? It's a bit close for comfort. So you know, when you're wicking and stuff like that, these things can move around a little bit. But yeah, that looks about it. Let's see what it's reading. 0.14 ohms. Jeez, I don't know if you guys can even see that. How do you block the light there? 0.14 ohm. Okay. Now I can start pulsing this thing. Okay, let's start pulsing it. Pulsing a little bit, let's strum. Pulse a bit more. Oh, there we go, they're starting to heat up nicely. Okay, strum, strum. There we go, looking good. Actually looking very good. Let me just pinch this guy, he's looking a bit funny. Pinch this guy. Oh, we're looking good. Now I just want to make sure these are nice and tight. Again, yeah, tight, tight. Okay, so here's the trick now. So now that I've fired this thing and I made sure that these coils are glowing evenly, which they are now. Yeah, just tighten that one up a bit, one more. Alright, this section here, this outer piece, gets so flippin' hot. You got to leave it now for like a minute or so, or you can blow on it a few times to see if it'll help cool it down. But yes, that is very hot to the touch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to wait a couple of seconds. Actually no, bugger it. Let me start off with the wick. Let's start off with the wick. So let me grab my wick. I'm using, like I said, cotton bacon version 2. Geez, my bacon's actually running low. I need to get some more. So I'm going to grip about, because these are 3mm coils, and I want it to be, you know, kind of not super tight, but like tightish. You know, I like, you know, with something like this, we're using a bit of high power and whatever. If you've got something, if your wick is loose in there, then what it does is it, you know, it crackles and pops, and you know, you'll get air between there, and you can get a dry hit and all that, and that's obviously not what we want out of this. We want to be able to get the nicest, smoothest vapor. So, actually, let me explain. Let's go to something else. Let me explain something else. With this device, okay, I've found that if you don't use enough wick, all right, that's why I use 3mm coils and not 2.5, because if you don't use enough wick, it leaks. It just leaks. Okay. well, when you're filling it won't just leak like, you know, just stand there and piss out of the side while you're busy vaping it or whatever. No. So when you fill it, because obviously the pressure in there is going to force that liquid out of those air holes if you don't have enough wick. If you've got enough wick, then obviously it's going to prevent that. If you've got too much wick, then this thing's going to dry hit. It's just too tight. I mean, the amount of space that we got in there is not a hefty amount, so it is going to dry hit. Okay, so I kind of use roughly about this amount. I'm going to gauge it now when I put it in. I actually think this might be a little bit too much wick, but this is going to sit nice and tight in those coils. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is let's turn this off. Yeah, it's actually cool now that I've had a bit of a conversation. Let's unscrew this piece from here. Sheesh, this base is still very hot. Wow, that's hot. Okay, we're going to take our wicks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to twist the end, you know how we roll, and then insert it here. Okay, that actually turns out that's actually going to be the perfect amount of wick for me. Perfecto mondo. Okay, then I'll just bring it down to the side like this. Okay, bring it down, and then I'll just snip it anywhere there, because we're going to come back and trim this now anyway. So that's the one side. Now let us move all that crap out of the way. Okay, pinch the end, take the other section, jam it through, and voila, we now have our tank basically wicked. Now there is, you know what, another thing is I've tried lots of different ways to wick this thing. I've tried to actually just snip it and place it in there. I've tried to do, you know, the whole bunny ear thing and then squish it down like with a needle from the top. It doesn't work. The only way that it works is like the manufacturer's video, which I think is very silly, is you have to bring these wicks down like this, okay, and then you basically have to place this over it. So where is it? There we go. These then need to come over. So let me guide the one side here. So what I do is I'll just put the cap on like that, and I'll make sure this wick is, you know, in its place where it needs to be. Where there, just sitting in those gaps, you know, sitting in the gaps. So we'll bring this one across. See, that one was a bit wide. I'll just pinch them in there, and the last one, okay, and then push it down. Then you get a pair of scissors. Zoom out a bit. Then with a pair of scissors, I'll turn this thing upside down like this, and I'll just snip this excess wick off. Just trim around the edge, trim around the edge. Okay. And then, with my little pick of destiny, I'll take the tip of the pick, zoom in a bit, I'll take the tip of the pick, and I'll then just push, 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 get that wick inside there. Okay, so yeah, basically you just take your wicks, stuff them in those holes, pop this thing closed. It will eventually close, and you'll see it'll be nice and, you know, all those wicking holes on the side will be nice and closed off. From the top, it'll look like this. Then what I do is I'll just pop this back in the base, and this thing is just about ready to rock and roll. Now when I'm priming it, okay, I'm going to use a bit of Paulie's pistachio because I'm in love with it. So when I prime it, I actually prime it like almost like a stock coil, like a Kanga coil or like an Atlantis coil or whatever, Triton coil. Well, I'll take a bit of juice and I'll just pop it in the top here. Okay, get like this, like nice and saturated. And then I'll just, you know, prime these 4 holes here. Let that juice start flowing. Let it flow, let it flow. And you can see this thing's starting to puff up nicely now. These. Okay. Alright, and then yeah, that's basically it. This then just goes straight on to there. That'll go onto my this guy over here. Let's just check if there's any shorts, if it's hitting the chimney or anything like that. No. Yeah, 0.21. 0.21 final resistance, that's where it is. So yeah, let's fill it, put it on the baby blue mannequin, take it back up top, and rock and roll. Okay, so there it is, guys. The Sigelei Moonshot. Fresh build, fresh wick, full tank, 90 watts. I'm going to run it at 90 watts just to show you that this thing can run high wattage. It does wick incredibly well. I've never had a dry hit or anything on it. Just as long as you remember when you excuse me, when you're setting your coils on the top of those 2 posts, make sure they're not too high, because otherwise they will hit the top of the chimney and it'll short. Make sure they're not too low and they don't hit the actual rim of the airflow, because then it'll short. So if you're going to put a big build in here, just be mindful of that. But let's hit this thing at 90 watts. Clouds, really clouds, but not enough airflow. This thing is getting incredibly hot at 90. Like, even this build, oh, that's hot. Even this build, I wouldn't even run it that high. I'd run this thing at about, I'd say 65. Let's go, I want to go 67.5, like somewhere in the middle. Just as many clouds, and it's not so hot and uncomfortable. But yeah, the flavour is incredible. Flavour really is incredible. This Paulie's pistachio ice cream is really coming through. I'm getting more of the pistachio, but oh, if you want to get one of these things, they really are good. They really are nice. Just a hack to build on. But there we go. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week. Shanana. I just want to say a very big thank you to Mr. Warren Tree for hooking me up with this Moonshot. It's been a pleasure, dude. This cloud's for you, bro.